All right, just before we go into Kallgren and what we saw Saturday and what we can expect, there is a thought, or not a thought, the Leafs have announced that Kallgren will play against the Buffalo Sabres.
That's weird.
Tomorrow
Why?
night, because Jack Campbell, quote unquote, not 100%. Is that safe, Sammy?
Yes.
Is that the word on the street?
Yeah. I honestly don't want to confirm it. I don't even want to put it out in the air. But yes, that's correct.
So what does that mean? Ribs? He still has ribs? Ribs not 100%?
I have no idea.
I mean, playing in the NHL is hard and probably tired or sore, and they feel like they have.
But he's been off for 5 weeks.
Yeah, but they got a chance to beat the Sabres without him, right? Like I am just trying to justify this without panicking.
You can justify anything you want, but I mean, to publicly say that he's not 100%, I don't. I mean,
well, it's not good.
It's great that they're honest, but
Yeah.
do you want that energy out there that you're your number one goalie after
Well,
a
they're going to have
5-week?
to answer a question, though, regardless, right, about why he's not playing.
Well, I think it's a pretty easy. Like I agree with Kyper here. He didn't need to say anything. They'd be like, hey, why is Kallgren going? He had a great start against Montreal. We want to give Jack a little bit more rest here before the playoffs.
Now we're
Jack's
doing a
not
goalie drama thing.
Jack's not backing up either. So, I mean, maybe you could have hid that with just another day of maintenance or rest or, big picture.
Yeah.
10 games, big picture. Sheldon said all along, this is about preparing for the playoffs. It's not necessarily to get Austin to 65 or Jack every start.
How about this? How about I hope it's his rib? Because what if it's not? Is it groin? Is it his head?
Well,
Is it?
You go back to the last time he started was against Dallas, and he got bowled over by, was that Raffle that bowled him over? Somebody bowled him over, nailed him into the, And
Like,
then
come on, be ribs.
And then it went down the other way, and Willie scored
I
right
don't know.
after.
I don't want it to be the ribs.
What else could it be that you'd like?
I'll tell you, if it's the ribs, then this thing is going to be nagging the rest of the way.
Right.
He had come off over a month to heal this thing. If that didn't get the job done, then he's going to have to deal with this thing on a day-to-day basis. And if it's not good enough for him to back up or start Tuesday, then there's a chance that we may go into the playoffs and this thing's still nagging. He may not have consecutive starts.
Now, let me ask you, is it a bad thing if a goalie is hesitant to get hit in the chest? Is that a bad thing for your hockey team?
Yeah.
Yeesh.
In all honesty, man, I hope it's something else because that
I just
has
don't,
a better chance to heal
no
100% than a nagging injury.
There's just not a lot of good body parts to be hurt for a tendy.
Do they have a cold?
You just
heavy
use that.
cold?
Yeah, maybe he had some bad shellfish. Let's hope that's my hope because
Bad sushi on the charter?
What part of your body don't you use as a goalie? Like you're using everything: knees, hips, toes, everything. So it's a little scary, boys.
So what did you make of Kallgren's performance?
I'm with Sheldon. I think it was one of his best ones yet. And listen, I mean, I was as critical and continue to be critical over that debacle in Florida. And at the end of the day, if that's all you have, then, by all means, hang your hat on that and pump the tires as much as you can because you don't have any other choice.
Right.
But for the most part, if we can just eliminate that moment in Florida, I mean, he's done everything that you've asked of him.
Mm-hmm.
But now to throw in, oh, by the way, we haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967, and we're really going to need you down the stretch here.
It's scary.
Is not ideal.
It's scary about what may be asked of him here.
There is a world where Erik Kallgren is game one starter for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's just, and I think you might call that unacceptable.
I would.
For the Leafs to have allowed a situation, to go into past the trade deadline with only two guys who you kind of trusted.
I said it the day we did the show. Like, how did you not make a trade for a goalie?
Yeah.
And they had 4 good ones. Now you have 1.5.
A year ago, you went over the top and spent a 3rd round pick for a guy that, and all he did was sit in the stands. And yet, this might have been the year to spend a 3rd rounder on something out there. But again, we went through it with outside of Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, what was really out there?
Yeah, maybe Wedgwood, who ended up in Dallas. And, it's not like he's a guy who is awesome. Like he's got a world-beating NHL resume.
But how much do you factor in? At least Wedgwood's got NHL
Games.
experience.
I factor in quite a bit. We
And-
talked about him on the way up to the trade deadline as an option. The thing with Kallgren, his performance on Saturday that stands out to me is like Keith also mentioned we were flawless in the third period outside one chance. We were perfect. It was a great game for Kallgren to get his confidence back, to get things going in the right direction. Because, yeah, Kyper, like something should have been done. It is what it is now, and you're right. The one thing I will say, if it is Campbell, less so Kallgren, is just thinking about the goalies who've won Stanley Cups over the years, whether it's Binnington or Holtby hadn't done it, or Corey Crawford hadn't done it.
Matt
Murray hadn't done it. It's not like goaltenders haven't come in and played well and had success. I'm not saying Kallgren's that guy, but I mean, if Jack's all right.
Listen, everything points into the direction that over the course of history that, there aren't that many Ken Drydens and Jordan Binningtons to come out of nowhere and win a Stanley Cup. But there's never been a salary cap scenario where there's been so many opportunities for that.
True.
You want to play the percentages? Just look at the percentages of guys that would even have that opportunity, and look at the percentages of those opportunities now being presented to.
Yeah, where there's a dozen of them this
Swayman,
year. Yeah.
And Jack Campbell.
Bobrovsky and guys who haven't done it.
Washington, Samsonov.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody's
check too.
Everybody's got that opportunity now.
Yeah.
So the percentages will tell you
someone's going to come through, unless it's Vasilevsky.
Someone's going to have a story.
And please
that
let me
nobody
remind
expected.
You that Vasilevsky was that guy who blew it, and they got swept against Columbus, and he couldn't get over the hump. He got beat by Korpisalo until he wasn't.
And he's also the least likely first-round matchup.
Is it?
Yeah.
For the Leafs, is it Campbell that's going to get that first opportunity, or Kallgren? But
it better be
coming,
Campbell, man.
Good Lord,
it's coming for one of them.
How about Tampa, though? Like, Tampa looking like their first-round matchup and struggling. I know they won their last game, but kind of limping around a little bit. It's tough to tell if they're a wolf in sheep's clothing or if they're a sheep, but probably a wolf in sheep's clothing.
And nowhere, as much as you've been around the game, watched it, studied it, experienced it, no clue.
No, I don't know.
No clue. Which team's going to show up?
Yeah. Can you just turn it on?
That looks like it's